Once hailed as the Queen of the Skies, the Boeing 747 was the aircraft that revolutionized long-haul travel. From the early 1970s, it connected continents, brought international flying to the masses, and became a true icon of aviation. But times have changed. Newer, more fuel-efficient twin-engine jets have steadily replaced the jumbo, and the COVID-19 pandemic only accelerated its retirement from many airline fleets. Still, for aviation enthusiasts and nostalgic travelers, the Boeing 747 hasn't disappeared entirely. As of 2025, a handful of airlines continue to operate this legendary aircraft, both for cargo and a shrinking number of passenger services. Since entering service in 1970, more than 1,500 Boeing 747s have been built. For decades, if you flew long-haul, chances are you flew on a 747. This giant aircraft opened up the world to passengers, democratized air travel, and secured its place as an icon of modern aviation. But times have changed, and the arrival of newer twin-engine jets that can fly just as far while burning less fuel has weakened the 747's appeal. The COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 accelerated retirement plans for many airlines, leaving the world with fewer Boeing 747 as we enter 2025. Flying on a Boeing 747 as a passenger isn't easy anymore, but it's not impossible. A few airlines still operate scheduled flights with the aircraft. Let's take a look at who's still flying the 747 in 2025 and how you can catch one of the final remaining queens of the skies this year. Although the Boeing 747 passenger aircraft has become quite rare, the use of the 747 remains relatively common. Planespotters.net lists 264 Boeing 747s currently in active service, with another 35 listed as parked. Some of these jets may be in long-term storage and unlikely to return to service, but many are simply undergoing maintenance before rejoining their fleets. The majority of the active 747 fleet is used for cargo operations. Atlas Air is the largest operator with 51 aircraft in service, 48 Boeing 747-400 and 13 747-8. UPS operates 43 aircraft, primarily the newer 8 variant, while Cargolux has a fleet of 29 aircraft split between the 408 models. While most of the world's Boeing 747s now fly freight, there are still a few passenger versions in operation. Currently, although the Boeing 747 is no longer in production, there are still around 50 passenger-configured aircraft remaining in airline fleets worldwide, according to data. However, the number of aircraft actively in service drops to just 39 when excluding those undergoing maintenance or temporarily out of operation. This highlights the gradual decline of the iconic jumbo jet in commercial aviation, as more airlines transition to newer, more fuel-efficient aircraft. Lufthansa operates the largest 747 fleet, including 8 older 747-400, 7 active, and 19 newer 747-8, 18 active. Korean Air also maintains a strong presence with 7 747-8, 6 of which are active. Air China operates both the 747-400, 1 active out of 2, and the 747-85 active out of 6. Meanwhile, Rossiya has 5 747-400, but only 1 is still flying. Mahan Air, though still listing 3 747s including 1 rare, 747-300, has just 1 operational aircraft. These figures highlight that while the iconic jumbo jet remains in service, its numbers are gradually declining. Some of the inactive aircraft may simply be undergoing maintenance, which could be the case for operators like Lufthansa, as the airline still relies heavily on the 747 for high-capacity routes. In other cases, such as Mahan Air's lone 747-300, the aircraft hasn't flown in some time and may never return to service, but it is still technically listed in the fleet on paper. According to data from aviation analytics firm Cirium, your best bet to fly on a Boeing 747 in 2025 is to book a flight operated by Lufthansa. With the world's largest fleet of passenger 747s, the range of available routes makes it possible to travel across the globe aboard Lufthansa's Queens of the Skies, provided you don't mind transiting through Frankfurt. As for Iranian carriers, scheduled data is not available from Cirium. However, according to Flight Radar 24 data, Mahan Air primarily uses its 747-400 on domestic routes from Tehran to Kish Island and Mashhad. In 2024, the airline also made a few rare international appearances in Dubai and Latakia, though these were the exception rather than the rule. Airlines have not yet filed complete schedules for the entire year of 2025, but the following includes flights currently scheduled to be operated with the Boeing 747 through October 2025. While Lufthansa is the most accessible option, don't overlook Korean Air for a long-haul journey on the 747-8. The airline's fleet of 7 aircraft can occasionally be seen at U.S. airports. If you're planning a nostalgic trip across the Pacific with Korean Air, you may want to act soon. Changes are on the horizon. Service to Atlanta, operated as part of a joint venture with Delta Airlines, where Delta flies the A350 to Seoul and Korean flies the 747-8, is set to transition away from the Queen of the Skies by the end of March. According to Cirium, starting March 30th, 2025, Korean will replace its double-decker with the more versatile 777-300ER. This means Korean Air will no longer operate the world's longest scheduled passenger 747 flight. That honor will pass to Lufthansa with its Frankfurt-Buenos Aires route. Korean Air had already retired the 747-8 from London Heathrow, marking the end of the Queen's presence at the iconic UK airport. Now, 5 of its 747-8 have been sold to Sierra Nevada Corporation as part of the so-called Doomsday Plane project. 2 aircraft have already left the fleet, with the remaining 3 set to be delivered shortly. Lufthansa, meanwhile, plans to retire its 747-400 by 2028 as part of a fleet renewal strategy, replacing them with the upcoming Boeing 777X. However, its 747-8 are getting a fresh start, with the introduction of the Allegris cabin beginning in 2025, suggesting they'll remain in service for at least another decade.